The Deep Space Research Station spun silently around the gas giant, its cylindrical hull reflecting the pale light of distant stars. Inside, corridors hummed with machinery. Computers beeped with soft regularity. And the smell of recycled air was faint but constant. For humans, this was a marvel of engineering, a symbol of their reach into the stars. For Dr. Lena Corvus, it was home, and today, it was about to become a stage for something far stranger than she had ever imagined. Lena walked briskly down the lab corridor, her boots echoing softly on the metallic floor. She carried a tablet full of schematics and notes, reviewing every detail of the revival experiment one last time. The alien chamber loomed at the center of the laboratory, a transparent cylindrical tank filled with a viscous, glowing fluid. Inside, a figure floated motionless, suspended in centuries of stasis. The alien's skin shimmered in pale hues that seemed to shift even in sleep, catching the light like a living prism. Lena's team had found it on a distant exoplanet, encased in ice beneath layers of rock. No one knew its species, its intentions, or its capabilities. All they knew was that it had survived, perfectly preserved, through millennia. "Everything ready?" Lena asked the team. Her voice carried both authority and excitement, a mixture that made people pay attention. Around her, engineers and biologists checked consoles, verified pressure levels, and monitored chemical balances. "Yes, Doctor," said Malik, the station's chief engineer. "Fluid temperature is stable. Containment field is at full strength. No anomalies detected." "Good," Lena said. She glanced at the alien one last time, adjusting her gloves. "Once we start, there's no turning back. Let's make history." The process began with a low hum. Machines buzzed and the fluid inside the tank began to bubble faintly, releasing tiny bursts of gas that shimmered with strange colors. Lena's fingers danced over the tablet controls, increasing energy levels gradually. Slowly, the figure in the tank stirred. It was subtle at first, a flicker of color across its skin, a slight movement of limbs. Then, with a sharp intake of breath, the alien blinked awake. Its eyes were large and iridescent, reflecting everything around them as if seeing both the present and some distant past. And then, without warning, the tank's containment failed in the most spectacular fashion possible. Water, or something like water, exploded out of the tank in a spray of glowing liquid. It hit the floor, the walls, the consoles, and even Malik, who yelped as it dripped down his forehead. The alien tumbled out of the tank with a grace that was entirely ungraceful, landing on the floor with a soft, squelching plop. Its limbs were long, elegant, and very, very wet. "I warned you," the alien said, standing up and flicking droplets at everyone with casual precision. "If I drip on you, it's your fault." Silence filled the room. Humans stared, mouths open. Even Lena felt a flicker of doubt, wondering if her species had finally lost the ability to understand the universe. Then Malik muttered, "Did it just talk?" "Yes," said Lena, stepping forward carefully. "Yes, it did." The alien tilted its head, examining Lena like one might examine a curious insect. Its translucent skin shimmered with soft blues and greens, slowly settling into a pale, calm hue. "I speak your language," it said. "Basic, yes? Or do you humans prefer complicated gestures that mean nothing?" Lena blinked. We prefer speaking. Words work fine." The alien's mouth curved slightly, almost a smile. "Fine. Then words it shall be." It glanced down at the puddle beneath it. "And yes, again, if I drip, your fault entirely. You humans must learn to anticipate this." The absurdity of the moment struck Lena. She laughed, a short, nervous sound. The rest of the team was frozen, half in shock, half in amazement. For all their preparations, nothing had accounted for an alien who not only survived a millennia-long sleep, but also had the audacity to make jokes at their expense. "Name?" Lena asked, putting a hand on her hip. She wanted answers, and she wanted them fast. The alien paused, considering. "Silea." I am called Scilia. It sounded casual, almost bored, as if the weight of millennia of silence had taught patience and a sharp sense of humor. And you are? Humans? Or perhaps clever monkeys who tinker with forces they do not understand? Dr. Lena Corvus, Lena said firmly. I'm a xenobiologist. These are my colleagues. We're here to help, to study, to learn. Silia's gaze shifted to the assembled humans. Help, study, learn. It repeated the words as though tasting them. Humans. Interesting. Fragile, but amusing. Perhaps worth my time. With that, she flicked her hand again, and a small spray hit Malik's shoulder. Again. Entirely your fault. Lena suppressed a laugh, though she had to admit, part of her admiration for Scilia came from how effortlessly commanding she seemed, even wet and dripping from a tank. But admiration was a luxury. The alien had to be understood, controlled, and studied before anyone got hurt, intentionally or not. Let's start simple, Lena said. She gestured to the lab instruments. Can you move? Can you interface with the station's systems? Scilia tilted her head, watching Lena closely. I can. But why should I? Machines are limited. Humans are limited. You want me to show you wonders? You should ask, not command. We ask, Lena said quickly. Please. Can you? Before she could finish, Silia's body shifted. Her limbs elongated in a subtle wave, and with a flick of her hand, the tank's residual liquid seemed to respond to her presence, swirling and rising into a small orb in midair. She laughed, a musical sound that echoed oddly in the metallic room. See? You think control is yours. It is not. Curiosity. Yes. Curiosity is yours. That I like. Malik's eyes widened. She just moved the liquid without touching it. Yes, Lena said, trying to keep her voice calm. We see that. Scilia floated closer, inspecting them, inspecting the room. Every motion was fluid, graceful, and confident. You humans are clever, yes. You reach out into the stars, but you do not see far enough. You do not understand. And yet, you survive. That is unusual. I will watch you, learn, perhaps trust you, if you do not bore me. Well, Lena exhaled slowly. Trust. That was an achievement already. Considering most species her team had encountered were outright hostile or incomprehensible, Scilia seemed like an enigma wrapped in confidence, humor, and intelligence. Then, as if testing boundaries, she stepped over a console, sending another splash of glowing liquid across the floor. If you slip, it is entirely your fault, she said. Lena sighed, realizing her day of chaos had only just begun. Over the next few hours, Lena and her team tried to communicate and establish boundaries. Scilia was curious, asking questions that ranged from the mundane to the profoundly philosophical. Why do you humans breathe oxygen when so many planets have other gases? She asked. Do you not worry that one day your stupidity will end you? Every day, Lena said with a smile. But we survive. Somehow, Scilia tilted her head. Survival. Yes. That, I respect. It is rare to find species that persist without immediate advantage. You are curious creatures. The team introduced her to the station's technology, the artificial gravity field, life support systems, and basic computing interface. Scilia observed everything quickly, laughing softly when humans made mistakes. She had an uncanny ability to see through human assumptions, pointing out flaws before they even occurred. Interesting. You build machines to serve you, yet often forget their limits. Predictable. By evening, the station's staff began to relax. Scilia, despite her dripping chaos and sharp wit, seemed willing to interact. She even helped repair a minor malfunction in one of the secondary life support systems, using movements so precise that even the engineers were impressed. It was not just skill, it was understanding, almost instinctive knowledge of systems far beyond human origin. Lena watched all this with a mix of pride and disbelief. Humanity had brought life to the stars, yes, but they had also brought understanding, patience, humor, and courage. And apparently, they had brought Scilia the alien scout back into the galaxy. As the day ended, Scilia floated near the observation window, staring at the swirling colors of the gas giant below. You humans are loud, chaotic, and amusing. Perhaps, just perhaps, I can learn to like you. But remember, she said, turning with a sly smirk, if I drip on you tomorrow, it is your fault. Lena chuckled softly, knowing that in this vast universe, humor, courage, and ingenuity were sometimes the very best tools humans had, and if Scilia was going to be their guest or challenge, it would take all three. Humanity had survived so far by being clever, adaptable, and occasionally absurd. Today was no different. Outside, the stars continued to shine, endless and indifferent. Inside, a new chapter of humanity's story was beginning, dripping in alien fluid and sparkling with possibilities. The next morning, the lab smelled faintly of the strange alien fluid that had dripped from Scilia the day before. Despite repeated cleaning attempts, tiny glowing patches clung stubbornly to the metal floor. Malik grumbled as he wiped his console, muttering about advanced alien pranks. While Lena simply shook her head, she had long ago learned that in human exploration, one must expect chaos, but sometimes even she was surprised. Scilia had already begun exploring the station on her own, moving with fluid motions that made her seem like she was gliding rather than walking. Every step she took left faint traces of her luminous moisture, which she seemed entirely unconcerned about. Humans, she said suddenly, turning her head as she passed the observation deck. Why do you sleep when the world is alive? Your bodies grow weak while you close your eyes. We need rest, Lena explained, following her cautiously. It keeps our minds sharp and our bodies functioning. Otherwise we'd make mistakes. Scilia tilted her head. Weakness. Yet you survive. Interesting. Perhaps your flaws are strengths in disguise. Lena smiled faintly. That was the first truly positive comment from her alien visitor, though she suspected it carried a hint of amusement. The research station was a labyrinth of corridors, labs, and observation decks. For most humans, it was impressive enough. But for Scilia, it was an entirely new world. She paused to examine every machine, hover platform, and control panel. She poked at holographic displays, rotated them with gestures, and sometimes made them behave in ways that the station engineers hadn't anticipated. Careful, Lena warned. You're not entirely familiar with how these systems react. A single mistake could fry the circuits or worse. Scilia laughed, a sound like wind chimes. Delicate creatures, yet fascinating. I see why you humans insist on managing your world with such care. Fragile, but inventive. Clever. She paused at a small console. What is this? Creatures. What is this? Creatures. 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 That's the life support monitor, Lena said. It tracks oxygen, pressure, and other essential systems. Scilia studied it, her glowing fingers tracing patterns in the air as she analyzed the data. Predictable. Limited. Yet functional. I could improve this, but I will not for now. She straightened, glanced at Lena, and added with a wry tone. Humans need victories. Yes? Malik, overhearing this from the doorway, muttered. Victory? She's dripping all over my floor, and you call that victory? Scilia spun on her heel and flicked a small spray in his direction. It is your fault, human. You have been warned. Malik waved a hand frantically, trying to avoid the glowing drops. Lena laughed. I think we're going to get along just fine. As the day wore on, Lena introduced Scilia to more of the station's systems. The alien watched carefully, asking questions, sometimes humorous, sometimes profound. You humans map stars and planets, yet you rarely see what lies between them. Why? Lena considered this. Because it's too vast to observe all at once. We explore step by step. We learn from what we can see. Silia's skin shimmered in soft greens and purples, an indication of curiosity, patience. Yes, perhaps that is your greatest strength. You persist, where others might give up. By mid-afternoon, Lena decided it was time to test Silia's abilities further. Silia, can you interface with our propulsion simulations? Just a simple test. We want to see how your mind approaches complex systems. Silia approached the console, her fingers moving in the air above it. The screen flickered. Numbers and diagrams dancing faster than the humans could follow. A soft glow emanated from her fingertips, and the simulation responded in ways no human engineer had anticipated. Thrusters aligned more efficiently, energy output optimized beyond any preset limits. Impressive, Malik said, staring. She just rewrote the code in real time. Yes, Lena said, her eyes wide with amazement. And she's not even trying to be helpful yet. Silia looked at them, her expression unreadable. I am learning, as you requested. Efficiency comes naturally to me. You humans are amusingly slow, but persistent. Lena nodded. That was a compliment, even if it came wrapped in teasing. Silia was already proving herself to be an invaluable asset, and yet, unpredictability remained a constant. Later, as Lena returned to the observation deck to monitor Silia's progress, strange readings appeared on several consoles. Small energy fluctuations pulsed through the station, affecting lights, communications, and minor systems. Lena frowned. Silia? She called. Are you causing this? Silia turned, her skin flashing soft orange. Ah. That. Possibly. Or perhaps the station is sensitive. You humans claim mastery, yet these systems are fragile. I merely exist, Malik groaned. Fragile? That's one way to describe half our station going haywire. Observe, Silia said, stepping closer to the console. With a simple gesture, the fluctuations smoothed out, and systems returned to normal. Lena watched, impressed, and cautious. The alien's abilities were vast, and her understanding of energy systems surpassed human knowledge. You are powerful, Lena said quietly. But we need to understand you fully before trusting you completely. Silia tilted her head, considering trust. An interesting concept. Humans trust their machines, yet doubt each other. I shall watch you. Learn your ways. Perhaps I will trust eventually. Perhaps not. Time will tell. By evening, Lena noticed that Silia's curiosity extended beyond technology. The alien had wandered into the station's hydroponics bay, inspecting plants with careful precision. Your species cultivates life in artificial soil, she said, touching the leaves lightly. Fragile, yet you nourish it. You value life, even small life. I admire that. Lena followed, smiling. Humans are adaptable. We survive because we care about each other and the world around us. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we keep trying. Silia looked at her, eyes glinting. Persistent. You survive. Cleverness is your armor, humor your shield. I begin to see why your kind endures. And yet, Silia's presence remained unpredictable. Small sprays of her glowing fluid continued to appear in odd places. One landed on a maintenance robot, which sputtered and beeped before continuing its duties. Another fell near a console, causing the lights to flicker briefly. Each time, she repeated her phrase, half joking, half serious. If I drip on you, it is your fault. Despite the chaos, the humans were growing accustomed to her. Even Malik, who had sworn never to trust alien fluids again, admitted privately to Lena that Cilia's knowledge and abilities were worth every inconvenience. Late in the night, Lena remained at the observation deck, watching Cilia study the gas giant below. "Do you ever rest?" she asked quietly. Cilia turned, her skin glowing faintly in the dim light. "Rest is optional. I conserve energy when needed." "Humans, you seem to enjoy suffering through sleep." "Fascinating. Perhaps it builds character, or survival skills," Lena said. "We survive, in spite of ourselves sometimes. Maybe that's why you respect us." Cilia's lips curved into a small, enigmatic smile. "Respect. Yes. Not yet friendship. But perhaps it is a start." She glanced at Lena and flicked another drop of fluid, which landed harmlessly on a nearby railing. "And again, your fault entirely." The humans laughed quietly, the sound soft but warm against the vast emptiness beyond the station. Even in the silent expanse of space, their humor, courage, and adaptability remained undiminished. Cilia, for all her alien wisdom and power, seemed to recognize it, and perhaps even appreciate it. As the station rotated silently in orbit, the lights from distant stars glinting off its surface, Lena knew that this was only the beginning. Cilia's awakening had opened new possibilities, technology, knowledge, and perhaps alliances humans had only dreamed of. But it had also introduced unpredictability, chaos, and a lesson. In a universe full of wonder, humanity's greatest tool was itself, its courage, ingenuity, and persistence. And if an alien occasionally dripped strange fluid on their heads while teaching them cosmic truths, well, that was a small price to pay. For the first time since Cilia's awakening, Lena felt a surge of hope. Humans had brought life to the stars. And now, the stars were returning the favor. The galaxy was vast, mysterious, and sometimes dangerous, but it was full of possibilities. And for humanity, that was enough. Outside, the gas giant swirled in endless motion, stormy clouds glowing faintly with reflected light. Inside, Cilia floated quietly near a console, her glowing skin reflecting the soft colors of the giant below. Somewhere, a soft drip landed on the floor. Lena smiled. It was, entirely, their fault. The night cycle of the station had passed quietly, but the calm was deceptive. As the station rotated slowly around the gas giant, sensors began to pick up faint, irregular signals. Lena noticed them first during her routine system check. The signals were not random, they carried a pattern, deliberate, and unmistakably intelligent. "Cilia," Lena said, stepping into the lab where the alien hovered near a console, watching the lights of the gas giant outside. "We have incoming signals. I think we might not be alone." Cilia's skin pulsed with soft, shifting colors. "Not alone? Interesting. The galaxy remembers me, it seems." She tilted her head, examining the displays with her glowing fingers. "Curious. They seek me, or perhaps they seek you, humans. You are intertwined now." Lena swallowed hard. They had prepared for many things. Alien life forms, equipment failures, even a containment breach. But they had not prepared for a hostile species arriving unannounced. She quickly ran diagnostics and attempted to trace the signal's origin. The data streamed in, and her mind raced. It was a fleet small, stealthy ships, equipped with energy weapons far beyond human technology. They were approaching fast. Malik entered, noticing the tension immediately. "Incoming ships? Already?" His voice held panic, though his hands moved quickly over the console. "We're not ready for combat." "Not fully. We'll have to be ready," Lena said. She turned to Cilia. "Can you help? Can you defend the station?" Calm. 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 Cilia floated near the center of the lab, observing the humans with a mixture of amusement and curiosity. "Defend? Yes. But humans must also participate. Let me see your ingenuity." Your courage. You survive by wit, yes? Show me. The humans had little choice. They scrambled to prepare the station, activating emergency protocols, sealing unnecessary compartments, and readying defensive systems. Drones were repurposed for surveillance, emergency turrets readied, and lights dimmed to conserve power. Even with all the technology, Lena knew that human skill and creativity would be the deciding factor. The first attack came silently, without warning. Sensors detected a small squadron attempting to breach the outer shields. The ships were fast, designed to overwhelm in numbers, and their weapons emitted pulses that could fry circuits in seconds. Lena watched the monitors, issuing commands, improvising strategies as the alien fleet closed in. Scifi floated near the main control panel, her hands glowing faintly. "Allow me," she said. And with a series of gestures, the station's systems responded. Energy fields shimmered, weapons reoriented, and shields pulsed with renewed strength. She did not fight directly. Instead, she enhanced their capabilities, amplifying the humans' efforts with her knowledge of energy and physics. Malik's jaw dropped. She's not even touching the weapons, and they're firing faster than ever. How is she doing this? She's teaching us, Lena said. Pay attention. Every movement, every decision, she's showing us what's possible. The first wave of enemy ships struck, their energy beams tearing into the station's hull in small bursts. Alarms rang, warning of pressure leaks. But the humans had anticipated some damage. Turrets fired, drones maneuvered, and Scifi's enhancements made each human action more effective than it would have been alone. Despite their technology and Scifi's assistance, the humans faced immense pressure. One ship breached the outer defenses, heading straight for the central hub. Lena's mind raced. There was no time to evacuate, the only option was improvisation. She ordered drones to block the ship's path, while Malik rerouted power to reinforce the hull at the impact point. Scifi hovered above the central hub, her translucent fingers tracing the ship's path in midair. Energy crackled faintly around her, visible to everyone in the lab. Humans, she said, voice calm but firm. Predict. React. Adapt. Your strength lies in this. Not in weapons. Not in machines. In wit. Using Lena's instructions and Scifi's guidance, the team coordinated their defenses. Drones intercepted the ship, ramming it off course. Shields absorbed the remaining energy, while emergency systems reinforced the weakened hull. For a brief moment, it seemed the station might survive unscathed, but the enemy did not relent. More ships approached, each faster and more dangerous than the last. Lena realized that human strength alone would not suffice. They had to rely entirely on improvisation, ingenuity, and the aliens' abilities. Malik, Lena said, her voice steady. Prepare the maintenance drones. We'll use them as decoys. Lead the attackers into a trap near the energy conduits. Malik hesitated, then nodded. Understood. It's risky, but it could work. Scifi watched the preparations silently, occasionally flicking a small spray of her glowing fluid as if marking boundaries. Very well, she said. I will guide your traps. Do not fail me. The humans executed the plan with tense precision. Drones were sent out in false patterns, luring the enemy ships toward the energy conduits. Scifi manipulated the station's energy fields, creating distortions that confused the attackers and left them vulnerable. Lena directed human teams, switching commands in real time as the enemy attempted to adapt. One by one, the attacking ships fell into the trap. Energy pulses from the conduits disabled their engines, and the remaining vessels were forced to retreat. Lena watched the monitors, heart pounding, as the last ship vanished into the darkness of space. The station was battered but intact. Systems were damaged, but nothing catastrophic had occurred. For a moment, silence filled the lab. The humans stared at Scifi, who floated calmly, skin shifting from deep blue to soft green. Impressive, she said, finally. You humans are clever. Not weak. You survive not because you are strong, but because you are unpredictable. You adapt. You persist. That, I respect. Lena exhaled, feeling both relief and exhaustion. We couldn't have done it without you, she admitted. But you couldn't have done it without us either. Scifi considered this. Perhaps. Cooperation. Effective. Your species. Unusual. Yet. Promising. She paused, flicking another small spray toward a console. And again, your fault if you get wet. The team laughed, the tension breaking slightly. Even in the aftermath of battle, humor reminded them that they were alive, and that human spirit remained unbroken. Later, Lena moved through the station, inspecting damage with Malik and a small repair team. Small fires had been contained, pressure leaks were patched, and minor systems were rebooted. Yet one thing was clear. Humanity had faced a force far superior in technology, and survived. Not just survived, but thrived. Scifi followed them silently, observing each repair, analyzing each system with curiosity. You persist, she said softly. You adapt. You survive against odds that should have ended you. Remarkable. Perhaps, you are worth watching more closely than I initially thought. By the time repairs were nearly complete, Lena had a clearer understanding of Scifi's abilities. She could manipulate energy fields, interface with technology intuitively, and predict physical systems with uncanny accuracy. Yet even with all her power, she respected human ingenuity. Her cooperation had depended entirely on the humans, demonstrating courage, quick thinking, and persistence under pressure. During a quiet moment, Lena found herself in the observation deck, watching the swirling clouds of the gas giant below. Scifi floated beside her, silent for the first time that day. You humans, Scifi said finally, are amusing. You survive because you are flawed. Your mistakes are your strengths. You learn faster than your enemies expect. I admire that. Lena smiled. Flawed. Yes. But we endure. Somehow, we always find a way. Scifi tilted her head, a faint shimmer of orange crossing her skin. Endurance? Persistence? Humor? Yes. Perhaps your species is not as weak as I assumed. Perhaps you are clever enough to survive the galaxy. The moment was brief, interrupted by another small spray from Scifi, landing harmlessly on the railing. She glanced at Lena and smirked. And again. Entirely your fault. Despite the chaos, laughter filled the room. For all the danger and uncertainty, the humans had proven themselves capable of surviving against odds far beyond what any ordinary species could face. Their courage, ingenuity, and teamwork had not only saved the station, but earned the respect of a being far older and more powerful than themselves. As night turned to day in the station's artificial cycle, Lena realized that this battle was only the beginning. The galaxy was full of threats, mysteries, and species, far more advanced than humanity. Yet, if this battle had shown anything, it was that humans clever, adaptable, and persistent could face even the most dangerous challenges and survive. And Scifi, who had once emerged from a tank dripping and defiant, had begun to recognize the most important truth of all. Humanity's strength was not in technology, power, or size, but in its spirit. Outside, the stars shone cold and indifferent. Inside, the station hummed with quiet life. Humans repaired, planned, and persevered. And somewhere, Scifi floated silently, observing, calculating, and occasionally dripping, reminding them that in this vast, dangerous universe, humor and unpredictability were just as important as courage. Humanity had won this battle not because they were the strongest, but because they were clever, adaptable, and unbroken in spirit. And Scifi, powerful as she was, had learned something equally important. Intelligence alone did not define survival. Persistence, ingenuity, and courage could challenge even the mightiest adversaries. The galaxy was dangerous, yes, But humanity was ready. The station hummed with activity as the crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage from the attack. Sparks flew from repaired circuits, and monitors blinked as systems came back online. The humans were tired but alive, and every repaired console and restored module felt like a victory. Scifi floated near the central hub, observing the repairs with calm curiosity. Her skin glowed softly, shifting from greens to blues as she absorbed the human activity. She had been impressed during the attack not just by their courage, but by their cleverness under pressure. Even more, she had recognized a quality she had rarely seen in other species: persistence. Humans didn't give up. They didn't surrender to fear or danger. They adapted, improvised, and fought to survive. Lena approached her cautiously. "We've stabilized the station. The damage isn't critical. Most systems are operational again." Scifi tilted her head, regarding Lena with her large, iridescent eyes. "You humans, you endure. You persist. You repair what is broken, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. That is admirable." Lena nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and relief. "We've faced threats before, but never like this. Not with ships that outmatch us technologically. We only survived because of teamwork and quick thinking, and your help." Scifi's lips curved in a faint smile. "Yes, my assistance was effective. Yet your actions, your courage, your ingenuity made it possible. You did not fail when tested. That is unusual." Malik, wiping sweat from his brow, interjected. "Unusual? We almost got fried in space. I think that's called smart planning. Not unusual." Scifi flicked a tiny spray of glowing fluid toward Malik, who yelped and jumped back. "And again, your fault," she said, her tone light but precise. Malik groaned, but the corners of his mouth twitched. Humor, even in tiny doses, helped calm the tension. Lena guided Scifi toward the observation deck. "We need to discuss what comes next. You are not just a visitor. You are a powerful being, and your knowledge could change everything for humanity." Scifi floated silently, watching the swirling clouds of the gas giant below. "Knowledge is valuable," she said softly, "yet it is not the only measure of strength. You humans survive because you think, because you adapt, because you persist. Even without advanced technology, your species endures. Persistence and ingenuity." Lena agreed. "Those are our strengths. We've survived countless dangers because we never stop trying. We improvise. We learn. We fight." Scifi's skin shifted to a warm amber. "Yes. Clever. Unpredictable. Persistent. You have earned my respect. Perhaps my trust." Trust. The word hung in the air. Lena knew that gaining Scifi's trust was more than a personal victory. It was a turning point for humanity. With her knowledge, guidance, and abilities, humans could explore further, survive greater dangers, and understand the galaxy in ways they had never dreamed possible. Scifi's gaze drifted to a small console. "I will share knowledge. Propulsion methods. Energy management. Medicine far beyond your current capability. But only if you prove yourselves worthy of using it responsibly." Lena nodded. "We will. Humanity has always sought knowledge, not just for power, but to survive, to improve, to help others. You can trust that." For a long while, Scifi floated in silence, considering. Then, finally, she spoke. "Very well. I will teach. I will share. And I will watch, observe, guide, perhaps ally with your species. You have proven yourselves remarkable." The humans let out a quiet cheer. They had survived the attack, repaired the station, and now gained an ally from a species older and more powerful than any they had encountered. It was a moment to savor, but Lena knew better than to let complacency take hold. Space was vast, unpredictable, and often dangerous. Yet humanity had earned a chance to grow stronger, wiser, and braver. Scilia turned toward Lena, her eyes glinting with amusement. "And yes, if I drip again, it will be entirely your fault." Lena laughed. Somehow, even after a life-threatening attack, that small joke reminded her of why humans endured. Humor, courage, and cleverness. They were inseparable from survival. The following days were filled with learning. Scilia guided the crew through advanced systems, showing them ways to optimize energy output, strengthen the station's shields, and manage life support far more efficiently than before. The humans learned quickly, adapting her knowledge to their existing systems without fear or hesitation. Even the smallest engineers and technicians found themselves experimenting with Scilia's suggestions, discovering that human creativity could improve upon alien designs. Scilia observed silently, occasionally flicking small sprays of fluid in what seemed to be amusement rather than malice. "You are persistent," she said. "And clever. Perhaps more so than I anticipated." Lena worked closely with Scilia, translating her guidance into practical applications. Every day brought new challenges, but every challenge reinforced what Lena already knew. Humans had survived, thrived, and adapted against all odds. They had faced a technologically superior enemy and emerged victorious. They had learned from a far older, more powerful being and integrated her knowledge into their systems. One evening, as the artificial night settled over the station, Lena stood with Scilia at the observation deck. The gas giant below glowed softly in the reflected light of distant stars. Silence stretched between them, comfortable and reflective. "You humans," Scilia said finally, "have survived because you are unpredictable. You think in ways I did not anticipate. You endure when others would fall. That is remarkable." Lena smiled. "It's not always easy. We make mistakes. We fail sometimes. But we learn. And we try again." Scilia's skin shimmered softly, her expression unreadable but her tone calm. "Persistence. Ingenuity. Humor. You survive because of these things. Not because you are strongest. Not because you are fastest. But because you do not give up. That is admirable." The moment was interrupted by a faint drip from Scilia, landing harmlessly on the railing. She glanced at Lena and smirked. "And again." "Your fault," Lena laughed. "It's always our fault, isn't it?" "Yes," Scilia replied lightly. "And that is why you endure." The days turned into weeks. Scilia's guidance transformed the station. Energy consumption decreased, life support systems improved, and defensive measures became far more sophisticated. Humanity had gained not only knowledge but confidence. They had survived, learned, and thrived. In return, Scilia seemed to grow increasingly fond of the humans. She no longer seemed distant or amused merely by their antics. She engaged with them, laughed with them, and even played subtle pranks. Each prank was harmless, yet served as a lesson in awareness, adaptability, and observation, a reminder that in the galaxy, one must always be vigilant and clever. One morning, Lena gathered the crew for a small celebration. Repairs were complete, systems were optimized, and for the first time since Scilia's awakening, the station felt safe, secure, and alive with energy. Scilia floated in the center of the room, observing with a faint glow. "Humans," she said, "you have proven yourselves worthy. You survive where others would fail. You learn faster than you think. You adapt and persist. That is why I will share my knowledge and remain your ally. You are remarkable." The humans cheered, and even Malik grinned despite being covered in a faint residue of alien fluid from earlier mischief. They had faced the unknown, survived, and gained a powerful friend in the process. Later, Lena and Scilia stood once again at the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly across the void, distant worlds shimmering faintly in their light. "Where do we go from here?" Lena asked. Celia's eyes glinted with a soft radiance. "Forward," she said simply. "Explore. Learn. Persist. The galaxy is vast, filled with wonders, dangers, and mysteries. You have survived so far, and now you are ready to do more." Lena nodded, feeling the weight and promise of those words. Humanity had survived countless dangers, and now they had allies, knowledge, and the spirit to face what lay ahead. Their story was just beginning, but they had already proven one eternal truth: courage, ingenuity, and persistence could overcome almost anything. Celia turned toward Lena with a faint grin. And once again, without warning, a drop of glowing fluid splashed onto the railing. She looked at Lena. "If I drip on you, entirely your fault." Lena laughed softly, shaking her head. "It's always our fault. But somehow, I think we can handle it." And as the station rotated silently around the gas giant, humanity's future stretched before them, full of challenges, discoveries, and adventures. With courage, humor, and ingenuity as their guide, they were ready to face the galaxy, knowing that no matter what came, they would survive. For humanity endured, persisted, and thrived not through strength alone, but through spirit. And in Celia, they had found an ally who recognized that spirit, respected it, and perhaps even admired it. The stars were no longer distant mysteries, they were opportunities, waiting for humans to reach them. And so, the adventure continued, glowing with promise, laughter, and the faint shimmer of alien fluid. A reminder that even in the vast, dangerous galaxy, humanity's ingenuity and courage would always shine.